Good evening, Aaron. I hope all is going well. I wanted to provide this video to give a little more insight and a little more specific help to the questions that you had given me via email and the voicemail since we didn't have a chance to talk this weekend. After you've seen the video and worked through it a bit, hopefully you'll be able to submit the assignment, give it a try, and then I can respond with either some minor corrections that are needed, or we can set up a call for next Saturday, as I discussed previously on the email, when you're available again. If you're available earlier this week, obviously we can do that as well. Just need a little bit of warning, and we'll get that call scheduled. But to the topic at hand, I wanted to help you a little bit with the case study that we're doing this week or last week. Specifically sections 2 and 3, or questions 2 and 3. Question 4 really is just a synopsis of 1, 2, and 3, really pulling all your thoughts together. That way we really won't go into detail on 4, because you should have everything you need by the time you get done with 1, 2, and 3. I think number 1 is pretty simple. You shouldn't have any trouble with it, as you indicated in the email. So when we're looking at the question number 2, what they're asking for is, was there significant growth in their API scores for both of these different data sets independently? So they weren't looking for you to compare the two different districts. They were looking to look at that in a silo. So look at each district as an independent unit. Since we're doing that, what you're going to do is use a 2 t-test, or actually use a single t-test, excuse me. And given that in Excel there's not a single t-test to use, we're going to trick Excel into thinking that that's what we're doing. So for this example, I'm going to show you how to do that for Alfred, and then you can duplicate this for RUS. And then we'll dig a little bit deeper into which of the metrics that you're wanting to look at. So this is the actual data set that you'll have when you open it up. And so first what I would do is I'm going to copy and paste this over, because I want to leave my main data set. You're going to use it later. You used it in part 1, and I don't want to mess with it. So I'm going to copy and paste it. Just simply grab it, move it over here. Right. And then I'm going to separate the two different districts. In this example, I want to move that down. And to trick Excel into thinking that we have two different districts that we're looking at, I'm just going to create a dummy set here. I'm going to go dummy, dummy. Again, I'm going to grab, and you always have to do at least 2, or it won't think that you have another set of data. So very simply, I just created 2 rows of dummy data. Okay, and in this example, we're only looking at growth. And we want to know, what is the growth? Is it significant or is it not significant? And we want to know it by district. So we're looking at Alfred here. So I'm going to say data analysis, 2 sample assumption unequal variances. That's what I want to use in this one. So I'm going to say OK. Now for my variable 1, that's going to be Alfred, and we're going to grab that there. So I'm going to grab the growth numbers, which is going to be J2 through J8. And then in variable range 2, since we're really just doing a single t-test, I'm going to grab this dummy data. Okay, which give me 9 to 11, 9 to 10. There we go. I'm going to leave the alpha at 0.5 or 95% confidence level. My output range is now saying J2. I want to change that because that's actually in our data set. So I'm going to move it over here and simply hit OK. And as you can see here, this is going to give us everything we need. You can see this dummy data variable 2 really doesn't give us any data, obviously, because it's 0, and we don't need it. So you can ignore this column. So when you're looking at the single t-test, which is going to be here for growth, the main things that you're going to be looking for is the p-value. And without completely giving you the whole answer, I'll stop there. But you can see you're looking at the p-value of a one-tailed test, or the 0.35. And that's what you're looking at for Alfred. That's the main metric that's going to tell you whether or not it's significant or not. And I'll leave it at that. Within the chapter, you can read about p-values, and it will tell you how to basically understand this number in relationship to significance. All right, so you're going to simply repeat the same process for the other data set. You're going to get a different answer, and then you're going to decide whether or not their growth was significant or not. Okay, so that should get you through part 2 of the question. Again, we're looking at the 2 different data sets as separate entities. We're going to create a dummy set so we can create the test and then analyze the results of this one tail. Okay, so I hope that's helpful for part 2. Now in part 3, we're going to go back to our main data set, and just to clean this up so that's not distracting us, I'm just going to group and hide that just for now, just to get it out of our way. So in this example, they're asking us to look for the difference in the average API, which we can see here's our API, and they're wanting to see the difference between the two. So in this example, we're looking at both of them combined. We're not looking at them separately, so we don't have to go through the trouble of creating a dummy set or anything like that. We're simply going to go to data analysis, and on this one we're going to use the equal variances. T-test 2 sample assuming equal variances. Say OK, and very simply we're looking at API on this one. So variable 1 is going to be here for Alfred, and variable 2 is going to be all of these here on the API. We're going to leave everything else the same. Let's move our results over here where you can see them, and boom, there we go. Very simple. That's an easy equation. We've got all the data, and then on this one, the numbers that we're really going to be looking for to determine significance on this one is going to be the t-value and the p-value again. So here we're going to be looking at the two-tailed test because we have 2 different variables that we are looking at in combination. Okay, so in part 2 we were looking at a one tail because we were just looking at one variable or one set of data. Here we're looking at 2 different sets, and again you'll go to your chapter and read, and that's going to let you know whether or not a p-value of 0.018 is significant or not, or a t-value of 2.09 is significant or not. So that's how you're going to look at these different variables. Alright, and then up here you have the t-stat variable. I would definitely look at that one as well. Alright, so this t-stat and your p-variable of 0.18, those are going to be the 2 that you're going to look at. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. Again, just wanted to get a little more specific using the actual data set, show you how to pull it quickly in Excel to get the numbers that you want to analyze, and then go back through the chapter and read about these different values and what will identify significance, and that should drive you in the right direction. So give it a try. Go ahead and submit the case study. You can add information if you're having a hard time writing multiple pages about the subject. Add about the broad subject or the broad ideas that we're discussing. There are plenty of sources out there on these types of tests and these types of analysis, so that should be pretty easy to find. But hopefully this is helpful, and submit the assignment and we will go from there. And I hope you have a great week, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.